Alright guys, here's how to save Khamzat Chimaev's career. Now, I'm the biggest Khamzat fan, and I just want to see him fight. I want to see him be more active, and it's obvious enough that his career is on a decline. So here's how to save his career. Number one is visa. Getting this man a visa, fixing his visa issues. I think it's pretty obvious he doesn't have a visa, and this is the number one cure to most of his problems. Now, I don't know if you guys saw, but in an interview, like a YouTube video with these Russian YouTubers, he actually admits that he can't come to the US. Let me roll the clip.
Посмотрим. Мне каждый раз обещают претендентский. Вот до с Гилбертом Брёсом, когда дрался, был претендентский. После этого за пояс не подрался. Потом с Усманом претендентский не подрался. Сейчас третий раз претендентский, посмотрим. Надеюсь, дадут, чё. Пока Дональд Трамп не вернулся в Америку, тоже не вернулись, наверное, из-за этого. Не будем прятать это все. Но я не расстраиваюсь, где дадут, там подерусь. Пояс, когда будет, тогда и будет. Если не будет, без пояса чемпион.
А можешь сказать, что вот если Трамп появится, и ты в Америке, как ты можешь появиться?
Конечно. На связи.
Но республиканец, как и Дана.
Я думаю, с Россией подружит. Надеюсь на это.
So he basically says that he was promised a title shot after his fight against Burns, his fight against Usman, and it never happened. He says hopefully they'll get me a title shot after this one. Now the important part. He says as long as Donald Trump is not the president, he cannot enter the US. So this basically means that Khamzat hopes for Trump to be re-elected and become president so he can come back to the US to fight. Now we all know Dana White and Donald Trump are pretty good friends, right? So who knows, man? Maybe some exceptions can be made. Now the benefits of Khamzat finally getting a visa. He's going to be more active and his activity levels are going to increase. Imagine Khamzat headlining fight nights, headlining cards, stepping in on short notice to save cards. And that's another thing. He can be headlining so many other cards. He is a pay-per-view draw. Like, he's a huge star. And let's think about it. There's only ever one Abu Dhabi card that happens every year. And that's usually around this time in October. Maybe there will be like a fight night in Abu Dhabi in August, or maybe like a Saudi Arabia card or a fight night. I don't know, since the UFC is like, new to Saudi Arabia. So there's only 2 cards in the year that can happen in Abu Dhabi that Khamzat can fight on. And we'll be lucky to even see him fight on one of them. And obviously with a visa, he can get a title shot because the UFC wants a champion that can fight in the US and isn't limited to fighting only in the Middle East. I also think that him getting a visa can help him receive the proper healthcare that he needs. I'm sure that he's got good doctors in Russia and Dubai, right? Don't get me wrong. But him coming to the US can allow him to meet the health professionals in the UFC that can help him out. Also, can we talk about how nobody asks about Khamzat Chimaev's visa issues? The only time we got to find out was this Russian YouTuber asking him actual proper questions. Other than that, these reporters that interview him just ask him the same generic questions. And when Dana is asked if he can fight, if he has a visa, if he can fight in the US or not, he'll say something sure, sure, or he just won't give a straight answer. And even if he does, you can just tell he's lying. Moving on, number 2 is return at UFC 3-weight Abu Dhabi. Now, the number one most important thing is that he just has to show up and fight. I'm 100% sure though that he will show up and won't pull out. I also kind of hate how everyone is calling him a pullout merchant now, even though he's literally pulled out of only 2 fights. One was a fight with Robert Whittaker, and before that was Leon Edwards. Now, for this fight, I do think Khamzat Chimaev is going to win this fight. I think he's being overlooked and underestimated, and I will be dropping a full breakdown video on this fight and why I think Khamzat is going to win this fight. I'll be dropping the video soon, maybe during the UFC 308 fight week, so yeah, be sure to tune in. Alright, so he has to increase his media presence because he still has star power, bro. He's literally, this guy's literally a fucking star, bro. I think he already is a huge star, and he has so much star potential, it's crazy. This guy is by far one of the biggest stars in the UFC currently, and he ain't even that active. I also think he has star power because whenever he says anything in a video or an interview, it's headlining everywhere. There are literally headlines everywhere on Twitter, Instagram, Google, everywhere. He's also on ESPN Instagram posts, whenever he says or tweets anything, there's a whole post just dedicated towards him. I also remember he had an interview with that one Russian YouTuber, if y'all know who I'm talking about, and there were just clips of Khamzat just everywhere going viral. So I think he definitely needs to like increase his media presence. This is gonna like improve his public image a bit more. He should engage more with the media and do more interviews. He should also like do more callouts after his fights in like the post-fight interview in the octagon, because he doesn't really do that often. So yeah, he can mention like when and who he's like gonna fight next. Imagine a round table face to face for Dricus vs Khamzat in the build up to their title fight. That would literally be like fireworks. It would go viral for sure. But yeah, there's absolutely like zero media coverage on this guy. There's like zero headlines. You only ever see him being interviewed by like Russian YouTubers once in a blue moon. Literally after the Kamaru Usman fight, he had maybe one proper long interview, and he's never had one since. Obviously he had those like post-fight interviews, but you will rarely like ever see this guy being interviewed talking about his career. Now finally, number 4 is put on masterclass performances. Now obviously this might confuse you a bit, but I want him to basically like pace himself a bit, because I know he's capable of doing that. A lot of people say that he has no gas tank, which is just not true. He has a good gas tank, and rather than seeing him, try to take the guy out of there, try to finish him in the first round, I want to see Khamzat batter his opponent for 5 rounds. I want to see him work behind his jab. I want to see him be more patient, technical. Don't get me wrong, he has a very explosive style, and I want him to be like that as well, right? But Khamzat can definitely put on masterclass performances where he's pacing himself, working behind, his jab, and also battering his opponent for like all 5 rounds, putting on 50-45 type performances. His coach himself has said that he wants Khamzat to dictate the pace and pace himself, regardless of him, having conditioning for days. He wants him to avoid being too emotional and be smart and fight smart.
Fight is that he just has to learn from the last fight and have the patience, keep his cool, use that experience that he got, because he has a condition to go for days, but you got to run the right pace and dictate the pace. So I think that I would like him to not get caught up in any like word battles and like show emotion and all this. Just do your thing, win the fight, and that's good for me. Of course, every coach, every fighter wants to win fast and furious and quick, But at the end of the day, like, you gotta respect that these guys are at the top for a reason, and you can't just be putting them away like with a blink of an eye. You gotta be more tactical. You gotta be more aware of what's happening, so you're not getting it lured into the different situations where you open yourself up. So like, I wouldn't be sad like if we won in the first round, but I would prefer like that he put on a clinic and show his skills for 5 rounds, and just totally dominate. That to me is a masterpiece. So I would prefer that, but I wouldn't be crying if he finished in the first round either.
Of course not. Yeah.
Khamzat himself has said this too, by the way.
That's fights I make for myself, because I give him insight for me, like some challenge. This is one guy to knock him out, one guy to submit him. Like I always before the fight, like wants to finish somebody, finish all my opponents. And sometimes I need to be like a little bit calm down and to do like perfect jab. That word from me, he said, just take off the heads, So that's why I made that 2 fights. It was I don't know. It was tough fights, man. So you can say that.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think Khamzat needs to do in order to, save his career. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.